Hey guys, James here, Appalachian DIY. We got a 2007 Hyundai Azera in the shop this week for a pretty bad oil leak. This is one of those oil leaks that just really wasn't that obvious. The car came in just completely covered in oil top to bottom, which is kind of the purpose of this video. When you get those oil leaks that you really just don't know exactly where they're coming from and the whole engine is coated in oil, you really need to clean the slate by cleaning the engine as good as you can, power washing it, using solvents, things like that, just to get the engine as clean as you can. From there, you'll want to go ahead and run the engine until you start seeing oil come out. So after we thoroughly cleaned the engine, let it run, we found that the oil cooler was leaking. Now, this is kind of a tricky diagnosis because we had never seen one before, but this is what it looks like once the intake is pulled off. This is the oil cooler slash oil filter housing. If you haven't guessed already, those two green O-rings actually seal the two oil passages here in the oil cooler, and that's what we found was leaking. So this is a picture after everything was pulled apart. The red dots in the picture indicate where the oil was dripping from. So basically right at the top of where the red dots start, that's where the oil filter would sit. Also, where the red line is, that's where the thermostat housing is. So if you're looking at your car and you know where the thermostat's at and you're seeing this oil come down from below there, there's a good chance that your oil cooler is leaking. So yeah, basically if you're experiencing this leak and it's been going on for any amount of time, everything below the red line all the way down to of course, the bottom of the car will be covered in oil. So the leak starts here where the red dots start, and it'll just drip down and flow down all the way on top of the transmission, down the sides, and down all the way to the bottom of the transmission. And from there, you really can't tell what's leaking, so you need to start from the top after everything's clean and check this spot right here. So to get to the oil cooler, you need to first remove the intake manifold, the upper intake or the intake plenum, whatever you want to call it, and anything that's attached to it will need to be either removed or moved to the side. After that, you'll want to remove the lower intake manifold, and once the lower intake is removed, the oil cooler will be exposed right there in the middle where you see like a big tub. That actually has a plate on top of it. That's the coolant passage that goes from the back of the timing cover where the water pump is all the way to through the oil cooler and to the thermostat housing. So once you pull off the oil cooler, you'll see the valley here is just completely filled up with oil, and if you'll notice here too in this picture, the wires coming up out of the oil, those are actually the harnesses for the knock sensors. So if you've gotten down this far, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and replace the knock sensors, especially if they're sitting in a puddle of oil like that. Even if they're not, you really don't want to have to do this amount of labor twice, so it's probably a good idea to go ahead and replace the knock sensors. So that's really about it. The biggest thing with finding oil leaks is don't guess. Clean the engine and let it run. Find the source of the leak. Get a second opinion. Use a mirror, plenty of lights, whatever you need to do to find what's actually leaking. In this case, it was the oil cooler, but in your case, it could be something different. So good luck with it, and thanks for watching.